Hi there, fantasy managers. My name's Tom, and F1 Fantasy is back, and it's back with some big changes. So in this video, I want to talk about those changes and talk about how we can construct our teams, how we score points, how we lose points, because yeah, that's the thing. How to use the new chips, because there's lots of new chips or boosters, whatever you want to call them, and then just talk about the general changes about what's happened. Because if you come back from 2022 and you've just looked at the game, everything's like changed. So let's get into it. Let's talk about the changes. Let's work out how we build our teams to start things off. So you're going to start the season with a cost cap of $100 million, and with that $100 million, you're going to build a team of 5 individual drivers and 2 constructors. And the constructors are obviously from the teams like Red Bull, Mercedes, Ferrari, etc., etc. And the drivers are the individual drivers themselves. They all come with their own individual price tag, so you have to fit in the drivers you think are going to score the most points within that $100 million. As the season goes on, your budget will change because the drivers, based on their performance, will either increase or decrease in price, and you have to be a bit careful about building your budget and hopefully be able to afford a better team as the season progresses. But that's the basics of how to construct a team. Let's have a look at the point scoring. Now, the 2023 point scoring system has had quite the overhaul in comparison to last year. Obviously, there's going to be full details on the website if you want to check that out. When I say the website, I mean the F1 website, but I'm just going to very quickly go over the absolute basics of how your drivers and constructors score points. So very, very basically, your drivers and constructors score points by doing well. They score points by doing well in qualifying, their final result in the race, and also getting those overtake points, positions gained relative to their qualifying. That's obviously helpful for the guys further back in the grid, so they can, they might not score many points from qualifying, but then if you start like 10th and then you move forward to 5th, and you gain those points for those positions gained. You get points now for fastest lap, driver of the day as well, so get voting for people in your team, clearly. Also, your constructors now score points for pit stops. Like I say, it's a little bit more detail than what I've just gone through on the actual F1 website, but this is just a very quick summary so you can see that. You obviously also lose points in F1 Fantasy, unfortunately. The DNF is probably the biggest way you're going to lose points if your driver does not finish the race for whatever reason. They've had reliability issues, they have a crash, whatever the reason is. If they DNF, you lose a big chunk of points. That's quite unfortunate, so watch out for that. You also lose points if you make extra transfers. You get 2 free transfers each race week, and you can carry one of those transfers over to the following week. But if you want to use more than those free, like 2 or 3 free transfers that you have, then it's going to cost you extra points. So it's going to cost you 4 points per transfer that you make over that. Your constructor, this is a constructor only one, for failing to reach Q2, your constructor will lose a point. Disqualification for whatever reason, breaking the rules in some way, like for example not having enough fuel during qualifying, you might get disqualified for it, and therefore you'll lose points for that. And also, just in the same way that you can get points for positions gained from moving up the grid, if you drop down in the grid during the race, then you also lose points. Now let's discuss the chips or boosters, perks, whatever you want to call them. They're there to help you score points, and there are 6 of them this season. Last season there was only 2. There was the Mega Driver, which tripled a driver's points, and also the Wildcard. The Wildcard still exists, but let's talk about the 6 new chips that are available this season. It's going to be important to use these wisely. Just a quick hint, if you didn't already know, it's probably best to use this during a sprint race because you're probably going to get more points from it. But anyway, one thing I didn't mention earlier is that in your team of the 5 drivers, one of those drivers you have to put the DRS boost on. The DRS boost doubles the points for that driver, so you probably want to put on the best driver basically in your team. And then number 1 here, the autopilot, automatically switches the DRS boost to whoever scores the most points in that given race week. So if you put it on, for example, you DRS boost Max Verstappen, and you also have Leclerc in your team, Leclerc scores more points, then the game automatically moves your DRS boost and doubles the points of Leclerc. So that's a great little extra bonus points basically. The Limitless perk is definitely an interesting one. It allows you to make as many changes as you want to your team in one given race week. It's like kind of like a free hit. The really big bonus to it though is that there's no cost cap for that week as well, so you can literally just put the very best drivers in your team that week, which is kind of insane. So use that wisely, again, probably on a sprint race. The third one is that there are no negatives. And I thought this was going to be a retrospective thing, but apparently you just kind of have to guess when there's a real danger of when your your drivers might DNF, and this stops your drivers from getting negative points in that given race week. So maybe again pick it on a rainy race where you think there might be some dangerous driving and people DNFing possibly, or a sprint race where there's higher risk with the extra race on the Saturday. And the fourth one is the extra DRS boost. Now I've already mentioned the DRS boost doubles the points of one of your drivers. The extra DRS boost triples the points. So yeah, kind of just an extra little boost there, as it says. Number 5 is the wild card, where you can make unlimited changes. Last season was a maximum of 12 changes and you could use it to grow your budget, whereas the price changes this season are a little bit different. So this year, the wild card, you can make unlimited changes in any given race week, or one given race week anyway, to change the team to exactly who you want. And maybe if you want to completely change your team, maybe you completely messed up your race week 1 team in Bahrain and you want to change it completely for Saudi Arabia, then use the wild card if you don't want to lose points, because otherwise, remember, you lose -4 points for each of those extra transfers over the free transfers. And the final booster, chip, perk, whatever you want to call it, is called Final Fix, which allows you to change one of your drivers after qualifying. So if your driver doesn't have a good qualifying, you can make a little change without any cost. Apart from the fact you have to use the chip, the Final Fix chip, and you can change that driver out for another driver who's probably, hopefully, going to do better in that given race. And that's it for the boosters. So like I said, I'll probably use these for a sprint race. I'm trying to work out when the best time to use it is, but there will be exceptions to that. Finally, let's have a quick look at the changes. Obviously, this list is not exhaustive. This is just some general changes that I've sort of highlighted that have changed from 2022. There are no streaks this time, which is a bit of a bummer in my opinion. But yeah, there's no streaks, so don't worry about that. There's a bigger DNF penalty, it's doubled. So watch out for those people that are, the teams that are not reliable, the drivers that are a bit more dangerous and a bit more risk taking. There's no more teammate points as well, which is another bit of a bummer to me. Ricciardo and Norris last season, Norris got a lot of points for beating his teammate, but that's not going to happen this season. There's no teammate points for beating them in qualifying or the race. There's obviously 2 constructors this year. Last year there was only 1. So that's quite a big change. The prices themselves have all been condensed, so you still got the 100 million budget, but everyone's a little bit cheaper, so you can squeeze in that extra constructor slot. The sentiment bar has gone. There's no more like variable price changes through the week. You don't have to stay glued to the website to work out who's going to go up and down in price. There is one change per race week, which I think is a really nice move. We all know it'll give it consistency and it'll make it a bit more fair, so people aren't getting priced out just because they're living their life during the day. And the other change, it's only -4 for extra transfers. I like this change as well. Last season it was -10, which just made me completely just not even think about making any extra transfers basically. But this season it's only 4, so if I'm really desperate to change my team around and I want to take that extra transfer, then -4 is a lot more tempting than -10. So those are kind of the general overview of how to play the game. You get your 5 constructors, you get your 5 drivers, your 2 constructors, and you score some points, and that's basically all there is to it. So I hope you enjoy playing some F1 Fantasy this season. I've got a league open. I'll put the link in the description if you want to join the league, or the code in the description if you want to join the league. Of course, you can subscribe to me because I do videos for each and every race this season, just like I did last season. And yeah, I'll be talking about my team selection, and I'll be doing live streams and etc, etc, etc. So yeah, it's all good, it's all fun, and we're here to score points, so let's score some points. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll catch you soon for some more F1 Fantasy.